Um, Great. Thanks again, Eric and Scott. And we are ready for our next session with Henk and Core. So, Henk and Core, the floor is yours. There we go.
Thank you.
There you go. Eric, Henk, would you like to share your slides?
I thought I just did.
Um, don't believe so. It's still my. There we go. Now
I,
yours are
I'm
on.
seeing them, yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
all right. I try to do it again then.
Good,
There we
good.
go.
Yeah.
Yeah. All
Mm-hmm.
right. So this is a quote. Hello, everybody, and thank you for the opportunity to present the stuff that we are very proud of. We've been working on it for 2 years with the group, and it's called Spec-Up-T. And this statement of Daryl O'Donnell has haunted us for 2 years. Trying to manage terminology on the internet is hell. And we thought, wow, that can't be the case. Will be pretty easy to solve this. So we'll tell you in half an hour the story. And the main takeaway of this is you can now, after these 2 years that we've been building, um, you can go for consensus today. And what do I mean by that? Every working group within Trust over IP has its own focus, its own scope, but we also share a lot of terms together. And how great would it be that we have some consensus about terms, especially when we use exactly the same terms, but we think of a different meaning behind them. So that's what we can do from today with Spec-Up-T. And that's my main takeaway of today. I'll guide you through why you should use that, who was involved, who can use it, how you can use it. And what you see here is the main players. We'll go through them quickly. My name, by the way, and why should you listen to this story of mine? I've been actively working with Spec-Up-T together with Core. Core is the developer. And I'm the one who ate the dog food. I've created 7 specifications in Spec-Up-T, and they're all interrelated, and you will see that later. Blockchain Bird, that's my donation vehicle. That has also, apart from the hours that I've put in, also put in over 100K in dollars. Who are we behind it? That's the Concepts and Terminology Working Group. So that's the group that is busy with terminology. And of course, you know that, so I won't go too deep in it, but our work includes tools for defining, editing, and understanding terms that we share, including glossaries. So there we've got 2 words, specifications and glossaries. So the glossaries are built with exactly the same tool as the specifications, and it's all called Spec-Up-T. So the first why has Spec-Up come to be and later Spec-Up-T. So Spec-Up is originated from DIF, a Decentralized Identity Foundation, and Daniel Buchner. And he wanted to create an easy peasy technical specification. And we want to thank Div and Daniel Buchner for that, because we've worked further on that result. And I think they have about 100 specs that are run on Spec-Up-T. On Spec-Up. We wanted more. In the Concepts and Terminology Working Group, we wanted much more. We wanted text, images, references, terms. We wanted a single page. We want it all web-based. We don't want to be working in a terminal and giving command line commands. We wanted to have it versioned, so if somebody changes the definition, we want to know. We want to harvest definitions. That means we want to use definitions of other people that might be more an owner of that definition or more knowledgeable about that definition. And of course, when we write specifications, we need normative and informative the difference between normative and informative links and references. And then we'd really like to have a GUI, graphical user interface, to manage this all. The harvesting definition is an interesting one because we don't want to be dependent of somebody. So, for example, if I link to a definition of drum and read in the main Trust over IP glossary, I then want to be totally independent of that definition as soon as Drummond changes it or he takes the whole glossary away, for example. He wouldn't do that. But we have to be prudent here, and that is what Spec-Up-T does. We always have local copies of our definitions that we've referenced at a certain point in time. So one last try, because you saw this very nerdy list of stuff over here. This is, of course, very nerdy. But why the heck are we doing this? Well, I think the main fundamental reason is that we are a part of a community and we want to build consensus about a new idea with anyone around. So if you have a new idea, you write a spec. Wouldn't it be great if you could create references to already existing specifications and definitions from others that make sense within your own scope, within your own mental model? That is exactly what we've strived for. And we thank TNO and Rick Joosten for the fundamental knowledge behind that. So now we'll give you the real meat. Cor, would you please copy that link in the chat so anyone could visit the link that is in the slide blue. It's what unites 6 or 7 glossaries and specifications within Trust over IP already as we speak. So they are in production. So this is Spec-Up-T is not a development or a test, or it's really running already. So you can be part of that community. And feel free to click around. And what you see is a GitHub repository for those who don't know what it is. And you can click on the About in the upper right corner. And then you will see from any of the glossaries and specifications that you see there, when you go to the GitHub repository, you can then click on the About and click to the real end result, which is a specification. And for those who know it, it's based on GitHub pages. Any questions so far? I'll rest a small moment. If not, I'll go ahead. What is Spec-Up-T? How is it built? How can you use it? Well, it's Markdown. So we write in Markdown and we use specific tags that will be pre-processed before it gets into a HTML page that we put on GitHub, and that's GitHub pages. That's the presentation of it. We also call that GitHub page the single source of truth. So we are not going to look in intermediate results on your local computer or on GitHub in files in the repository. We only look for references in the final result that's there. And you can take that result and use the result to post-process, for example, in docx or PDF makeovers. For example, if you have to comply to a certain standard with a certain spelling, you could do that. Spec-Up-T is meant to primarily to give you a digital version of the specification, an interactive version of the specification. So we'll walk with the square red boxes through the nerdy versions of why we are doing this. The next step is single page web-based and versioned. Why do we want to do that? Why do we want to know which kind of version that we've referenced Because if somebody else changes a term definition that's externally hosted, then you want to know because they might change the definition in a way that does not fit your concept and your context. So then you want to go back to that definition that was supplied in the past, and maybe you even stop referencing it and externally and start editing it by yourself. It's all possible in Spec-Up-T. And why do we use GitHub pages? Well, it's a very uniform way of presenting. And if you've clicked on the link that Cor has provided in the chat, and you have an example of a Spec-Up-T specification in front of you, you will see that it's very uniform if you click through a few of them. And GitHub serves as uptime and global presence, and it's free, it's open source, etc., etc. This is the way we harvest definitions. We write and harvest definitions. So we use the spec-up tags that are listed in the second line: def, ref, xref, tref, and iref, and also the spec tag. So don't run away straight away, because we will slowly go through them and show you examples of them. And you might already have them in front of you, and you will recognize them as soon as I go over them. So what we do is we define terms, we reference them locally. That's what SpecUp did from Daniel Buchner and Div. And then we started building extra functionality in the concepts and terminology working group. And I want to thank everybody that has cooperated with that in the past 2 years. That has been magnificent, because we were the ones that created it, but we couldn't have done that without the constant feedback of the people present in those meetings. The X reference means that you externally reference a definition with a simple link. A transclusion means that you take the whole definition from an external site and you put that in your own glossary. Hold on, you're all going to get examples of that. And then the last one here, the ToIP spec clearinghouse, we have that tag. That tag is a spec tag here. We have that from diff inherited, and it's a central clearinghouse. So Spec-Up-T wants to be totally decentralized and free and self-sovereign. This spec tag depends on a clearinghouse that can change, and then you have to trust them. But they do normative references. So there's a whole list of RFCs, and you can reference them in your own specification. So you reference and you trust. That's about the same, because somebody else is behind the dashboard, and they can do whatever they like with that definition, and you trust it. And you don't have an active alert system that tells you that he or she did that, and you have to take care of it yourself. With Markdown and HTML, it's even worse. I would say that's link and pray. You have to, as soon as you make a link with a URL to some external document, a minute later it's outdated. You can't trust it. So the only thing we really have to check our specifications, apart from all the Spec-Up-T tags that do version management, and they know exactly what they link, is that you check the broken links afterwards. And Spec-Up-T helps you also with health checks, so it gives you lots of reports. And there's also an extensive user manual available. So the conclusion of this part is use def, ref, xref, and tref tags as much as you can, because that will help you being consistent and knowing what you've referenced in the past, that it still works. We also want we got feedback that the whole terminal-based, command line-based operation that Spec-Up had in the past and Spec-Up-T has still. We have a command line version of Spec-Up that won't work for, let's say, 90% of the people. And they urged us to build a web version of it. And we can happily announce that it's a test version, but it's available. And Cor will go into the details of that web version tomorrow in a workshop. And we will work with that version so you can get used to it, how it works. We can use GitHub Actions as well to generate automatically your end result when you've locally changed some information, either content or glossary terms and definitions. You can automatically generate a new version outside. Outside, I mean publicly. Just to give you a quick look of that web version, it looks like this. Don't worry, don't run away again, because we will go in the last 10 minutes through the options that you have here. So hold on, there we go. This is the real nerdy part, and I hope these are the tools you have. So you can make a definition in any Markdown document or any text-based document. And an example is, you can see that to the upper right, it says def, self-certifying identifier, then again self-certifying identifier, and then SCID. So what is this all about? The first one is the key. We use the key to communicate with all the other specifications and glossaries. So a key is unique locally because somebody else might think that self-certifying identifier is totally a different concept than you. But still we can exchange based on this key. If you want to present the term in your glossary differently than the key is formatted, then you can use the second one, and it looks like this. So what you see here is that the first alias with the spaces is the actual presentation, and then the one with the dash, that's the key. Oh, sorry, that's too quickly. I have to go back first. Yeah. So, and the second one is the with the dash, and the RFC is the last one, the SCID. I see that the example does not match the screen dump, but it works exactly the same. The next one is very important one because that's the tref. We call that a tref because it's a transclusion reference. So, for example, you want to pick the carry definition of self-addressed data. Then you reference the carry repo, you use the key, and then you can also specify how you want it to be listed in your own glossary. And that looks like this. The difference with a normal definition is that it has a blue background. And as you can see, also the pop-ups, they still work. And if you push the I button, then you can see where that definition is coming from. So you can see here that it's the carry glossary, and you can also click through to that definition over there. An xref looks more like a link, but it is exactly the same. Like you can see here on hover, you can read the pop-up. On click, you can go to it. to either the main link or link within the pop-up. So even the pop-ups have links, and there's a very important distinction to make. We only generate links on pop-ups that are locally defined. So think about that later, but it's an important distinction between linking a match that you have locally and linking the link that was already provided in the hosted glossary. Because then you would get information about their context, about their mental model in your specification. That's not what we want to support. We think it's good governance to only match locally defined definitions and offer a link as soon as we have a local definition for that term. It gets easier with every step. Now we have a ref. What does a ref? It does not more than just locally link a definition. It does not have aliases. You use aliases to ref because what you ref is exactly what you get. What you see is what you get. So for example, this one was refed as carry space specification in lowercase. So now I have a question for you, whether you've taken this in already or not. I want to know from, feel free to shout out whether there's one of these things inside. There's no tref in here, that's for sure. So an externally referenced definition would have a colored blue background, and these are all white. So there's no tref in here. But do we have a def? Feel free to shout out. Do we see a definition in this one?
Yes. Aren't there two definitions?
Sorry?
Are there not two definitions here for these two?
Exactly. Yeah, you're right, Armand. There are two definitions in here. And thank you for jumping in. So there is a def inside. Does anybody see a ref in here? A reference, a local reference? Well, to save time, I will answer the question myself. There are 3 local references around here in the back and down here. I don't know whether you can see my pointer.
Yes, we can see it, Hank.
Okay, that's great. So they are here, and these are local references, and you can see that because the external references, they have the external mark over here. So that's how you recognize the last one, that these are the xrefs. Have we got a URL in here? Of course, we have them down here. So that's a non-dashed line. It's a straight line. How you call that? An underlined word with an external symbol. That's a URL. So the only thing we haven't got here is a tref. We got one more feature to present, and that is the levels of information, and that's a round trip harmonica. What do we mean by that? What you can see is you will see this definition as only a bar. As soon as you click on this link, you can recognize it, by the way, by the a bit more solid one. If you push on that button, then it will rotate. It's road trip harmonica, and it will show you more information based on words that we search for, and we put them in the next level of information, and that you can steer that yourself within the local specification or glossary. Last one. Oh, yeah, we got a special one created a few weeks ago because the DIT Web needed it. It's a local transclusion of a definition. That means that you have a definition in your glossary, but you want to remind people of that definition somewhere else in your text. And it looks like this. It very much looks like a normal definition, but here you can see the difference. It's a bit more grayed out and it has a button to the glossary, and it will, as soon as you go there, you can click on it, and then you can do more, get information about version management, and you can straightly go to the sources on the internet. These are difficult tools, I would say. I would not use them too much. You can, of course, create links in Markdown, but as we said before, they are not managed. So there's no versioning, there's no pop-up. Only the broken link checking will be done. And the only thing you get is on click, you go to these links. These are the very well-known links you see anywhere on the internet. So this is what we've, hopefully I gave you a brief introduction of the tools, how you can build consensus and freedom to work together. This might have sounded pretty nerdy, and as soon as you start writing specifications, you get all into this. It's doable. It's only like 6 tags, and you will recognize the various features and the way they show up in the end result pretty quickly. Should you not be able to do it or don't have time for it, we've set up a service to guide you through this. And if you're interested in writing a specification and joining the ecosystem of Trust over IP of interrelated glossaries, but you can't do it, or you want to have some guidance or help, then we are open to discuss that. But you need budget to do that. It's between, on average, 5 or 10K that you would need to become to have a good specification and glossary, and also be trained to do it yourself for the rest of your life. I won't go into these. I just want to, you can read it later. It's even more technical specification of how it works and why we did it. I want to end this presentation with the statement, we've managed terminology hell on the internet, I think. And if there are any more questions about this, we got like 2 minutes left. Well then, Thomas, you can take it over.
Okay, thanks, Henk. I was about to unmute myself and ask if somebody else has any sort of questions. And I don't see anything on YouTube or LinkedIn Live right now, so I think we can just move on to the next talk.
Yeah.
And thank you for all the, thank you, Henk and Core, and thanks for all the panelists. We are